And parents are to blame for many of the problems.
We must get to crying before those brats.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, reporting tonight from NBC News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. While the Soviet Union struggles with the monumental task of building a new nation from the ground up, President Bush challenged Americans today to rebuild a critical part of their own society, education. He said we're all to blame for betraying our children. NBC's John Cochran tonight on the president's campaign, Andrea Mitchell on the competition for education. John, let's begin with you.
Tom, the president kicked off the new school year with a big push for the education program he unveiled several months ago. But he also did a lot of hand-wringing, saying things are bad and getting worse.
Scores on the verbal SAT have tumbled to the lowest level ever. And these numbers tell us our schools are in trouble.
Bush tried to spark interest in education by acting like a scold and a nag. He complimented teachers but had sharp words for parents.
Your teachers are working hard. The drop shows that we haven't taken the time to read to our kids, to talk with them, to teach them the art of communication, how to think, how to write, how to speak clearly. What happens at home really matters. And when
Bush seemed especially upset that youngsters are permitted to watch what he calls obscenity and other excesses on TV.
we would say to our grandchildren, hey, watch that junk. I mean, that's not right. Or if it's too violent and see a little 6-year-old kind of shrinking down into a chair. I'm convinced that the excesses are having a bad effect on our children and on family stability and on learning.
But as students returned to class in much of the nation, some educators and politicians were quick to say Bush is too tight with money to be the education president he aspires to be.
We really need the money from the federal government.
If we're going to give a grade to President Bush right now, we'd give him probably a C-.
In Washington, Democrats came up with a gimmicky report card giving Bush an A for geography since he traveled so much, but the rest of his education program got, right you are, all Fs.
Once again, President Bush starts the campaign season with phony public relations schemes. Visiting children in schools is not enough, Mr. President.
Maybe, but the president will hit education hard this month. He'll also speak out on the environment, transportation, and the economy as he tries to counter the Democrats' charge that when it comes to domestic issues, his eyes just glaze over. Tom?
Thank you, John. And NBC's Andrea Mitchell has been looking into the president's criticism of parents and television and finds it's true, but also much more complicated than he may realize. Andrea?
Tom, most people agree that parents should take more responsibility for their children's education. Getting them to do it is the problem. This is the America George Bush remembered. Parents taking their children to school, supervising their homework, limiting video games and TV.
My mom and dad don't let me watch TV until the weekends. They wouldn't want me to get too much involved into TV, and they want me to study and get good grades.
Given the choice, they would turn into zombies in front of the television.
What do you do when you get home from school?
I do my homework, and I do my homework.
But more and more kids are raised by single parents or two parents who work outside the home. Kids are on their own, hooked on Nintendo games and home videos, television as babysitter.
And what's too much? How does your mom know when you've seen too much TV?
If we've been, sitting around, all morning and all afternoon, that's too much.
It's a question of family values.
I feel very strongly that this is the responsibility of a parent because if my children would watch more TV, they wouldn't get enough homework done.
Recent studies claim that there is a direct relationship between declining verbal test scores and the amount of time kids spend glued to the screen. Where are their parents?
We know that there's powerful effects of parent involvement in education. Parents who read to their children, who read themselves, have children who read well in school.
We hope that they model what they would like their children to do. So as far as how much reading do the children do, if they see their parents reading, they'll follow suit.
Others say the president should realize that parents alone cannot solve the problem.
While he can talk about the importance of parents, it seems to me that the federal government has a responsibility as well.
With federal cuts, states and cities just don't have money. Parents are copping out, and kids are falling further and further behind. Tom?
Thank you, Andrea. A couple of questions now. First for John Cochran. This did look like a naked political play because the president's concern about education seemed to rise right up out of the main surf, John.
Well, sure, the timing is important. He's got a 2-month window, Tom, to get on the record and talk about domestic issues. Because starting in November, he starts globe-trotting again. And by the time Christmas comes around, there'll be more Democratic challengers in the presidential race. They'll be hitting him over the head on domestic issues. He's got to be on the record this fall showing an interest in these domestic issues.
And, Andrea, what about the Democrats? They carp, but they haven't done much for education either.
Well, Congress hasn't. The Democrats in Congress have been bound by the same budget agreement that restricted the Bush White House, and by signing to that agreement, they haven't had the money to propose their own domestic programs. So, as you say, they've done a lot of criticizing, very little concrete proposing.
Andrea Mitchell, John Cochran, thank you very much. When Nightly News continues in a moment, at least 25 dead tonight in a North Carolina plant fire. And tonight's Daily Difference. What works? A successful new approach to the homeless problems in America's cities. Mike Jensen has the story when Nightly News continues. NBC's Kenley Jones.
Eyewitnesses said the blaze began at the Imperial Food Products plant when a fryer used to cook chicken parts for fast food restaurants caught on fire. Rescue workers had to fight intense heat and smoke to remove the dead and injured. The injured were taken first to the small hospital in the town of Hamlet. Later, some of the badly burned victims were transferred to larger hospitals across the state.
When I looked back and I saw that black smoke, like it was running on through the plant, I just tore off at the door.
But other workers had trouble getting out of the plant. A locked door in the canteen, where some were taking a break, had to be kicked off its hinges to get it open. Employees said another door that was temporarily blocked by a delivery truck delayed the escape of some. And there were complaints that there was no emergency exit in the area where the fire began.
If I was back there, ain't no way in the world I could have made it out back there. No way.
But the Occupational Safety and Health Administration says it has no record of violations at the plant. Kenley Jones, NBC News.
Now to the case of the woman Texas police call the ultimate stage mother. She's accused of plotting to have another mother killed to help her daughter become a cheerleader. That case went to the jury today in Houston. NBC's Jim Cummins is there tonight.
The Houston courtroom was packed long before Wanda Webb Holloway arrived for the final arguments in her trial. She has emphatically denied being obsessed with her daughter making the high school cheerleading team, denied that she intended to hire a hitman to murder Verna Heath so that Verna's daughter Amber wouldn't be able to try out for the team. Prosecutor Mike Anderson admitted to the jury that it may seem bizarre, but he insisted that was the motivation for murder for hire in this case.
We were able to see her motivations and her deep and burning, gnawing hatred for two fellow human beings.
Mrs. Holloway's former brother-in-law, Terry Harper, claimed that she asked him to find a hitman to kill Verna Heath. Harper secretly recorded the conversation for police.
I guess what it boils down to is the final question. You do want this done? I would like it done.
When she took the stand in her own defense, Mrs. Holloway tearfully denied she wanted to have anyone murdered. She said she went along with the scheme because she was afraid Harper would have somebody murder her. Her lawyers accuse Harper of conspiring with Mrs. Holloway's ex-husband, Tony, to get her in trouble so that Tony could win custody of their children.
There's simply no intent. Wanted one to go through with this, she'd have said up front, yeah, let's kill him, let's kidnap him, and here's the money. She didn't do that.
But the audio tapes did reveal Mrs. Holloway's hatred for Verna Heath and her daughter Amber, and she did express a desire to get rid of them.
Imagine an invisible button that only she knows about that she can push, and if she pushes it, those two people die. Well, she pushed it.
Late today, the jury found Wanda Holloway guilty. She will be sentenced tomorrow. Jim Cummins, NBC News, Houston.
On assignment Earth tonight, a return to the wild. With some help from humans, the black-footed ferret has a new lease on life. NBC's Roger O'Neill on the prospects and also the perils.
They didn't exactly jump with joy or run for freedom. It's a scary world out there for 50 black-footed ferrets, which until today knew life only inside a cage.
Hello.
I'm curious. Their human friends displayed much more excitement for the success they had achieved, rescuing an animal that not too long ago was thought to be extinct.
Well, every species is important in order to maintain the diversity that man ultimately depends upon for his existence.
It was man who nearly destroyed the black-footed ferret's habitat. The animals love prairie dogs, but farmers, ranchers, and developers have systematically tried to wipe out the ferret's main food supply. For 5 years, biologists have successfully bred the animals in captivity. They are cute, playful, and have captured the imagination of thousands as a symbol of wildness. With their release back into the wild in Wyoming this week, the Endangered Species Act will protect the black-footed ferret from man's further encroachment. The act comes up for reauthorization in Congress next year, with considerable pressure to water it down. The black-footed ferret will be used by environmentalists and others who say the Endangered Species Act is too strict.
It does, much to the chagrin of some people, political chagrin, exemplifies that the act isn't broke, it is working, it is doing what it was intended to do.
But in this case, it's working because some of the penalties for accidentally killing a ferret have been relaxed. Even with man's support, the black-footed ferret will have a difficult time surviving in the wild. If the ferret learns to hunt for itself, natural predators like the coyote are expected to kill many of them. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Denver.
On Wall Street today, profit-taking sent the Dow Industrials down sharply. Trading today was moderate.
The financial report has been brought to you.
Homeless families. It's a desperate problem, one that seems to defy solution. And yet, Andrew Cuomo, the son of the New York governor, has come up with a success story. It's built on compassion and common sense. NBC's Mike Jensen tonight.
If you treat a person with contempt, if you treat them with fear, if you put them in a welfare hotel and motel, that's what you're going to get back. If you treat a person with respect and dignity, they respond in kind.
And so 5 years ago, Andrew Cuomo set up a program called HELP in one of Brooklyn's poorest neighborhoods. HELP is a nonprofit organization that provides temporary apartments to homeless families.
They give a damn. They give a damn about the families that are here. They actually they work for you.
Today there are 8 centers all over New York State, some quite elegant. They operate at only 2/3 the cost per family of the average New York welfare hotel.
Why? Because you're bringing in private sector companies that are working with government, and you're removing the profit motive from the welfare hotel. Nobody makes money here. This is a not-for-profit company.
HELP has government funding, but because it's a private organization, it can set rules that public programs can't. There's a curfew. No guests are allowed in the facility. Children have to be in bed by a certain time. And there are all kinds of services.
Oh, well, I'm going to go sign up for school, and so is he.
Here at the Bronx facility, there are 20 caseworkers who meet every day with each of the 200 families. Daycare is available from 8 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. Teachers are brought in to work with older children. There's even a bodybuilder who visits every day. The average stay here is 6 months. HELP works with families to find permanent homes.
And it's nice being a mom.
Maritza Augusto has been at the center for 5 months. She didn't even know how to take care of her children. Now she's about to move into her own apartment. Her mother is thrilled.
She says, "Oh my God, that's my daughter." I was like, "Yeah, this is me, Mom." She was like, "I don't believe it." I mean, because I carry with my kids everywhere I go now.
This is the newest facility, West Help, in Greenburgh, New York, part of Westchester County, one of the wealthiest in the country. People out for a drive have mistaken this homeless shelter for a high-priced development, asked whether any of the condos were for sale. Some of the neighbors object.
And if Cuomo thinks it's okay, put him next to his mom.
But the town supervisor fought hard for the facility, and the town provided the land.
We all talk about the problems, okay, in this country. But what the hell are we doing about it? Nothing. Nobody takes a step forward. No one. Very few.
That step forward can be a lifesaver.
Okay, this is my unit.
Quintana Jennings and her baby know all about that. They had been living at the Van Cortlandt Motel in the Bronx, full of rats, she says, and water bugs. But even that wasn't the worst of it.
Like they just put you in there and that was it. If you come here, they tell you what you can get, tell you advantages, tell you like you can go to school.
You could go to a training program, health classes, nutrition. You know, you learn something from here and you're going to take it with you for the rest of your life.
Mike Jensen, NBC News, New York.
Tomorrow's Daily Difference on the cities. Vital signs, lead poisoning, environmental health risk #1 for inner city kids. Yugoslavia is facing an enemy within. The age-old rivalries between its 6 republics. Croatia has declared its independence. Serbia has sent in government troops. Each side blames the other for the latest violence, which threatens to become a full-scale civil war. The European community said today it would convene yet another Yugoslavia peace conference on Saturday. And of course, now the Soviet Union is getting its own dose of conflict between competing republics and a weakened center. That drama is personified by Boris Yeltsin and Mikhail Gorbachev. NBC's Bob Abernathy has more from Moscow tonight on this unlikely pair. Bob?
Tom, although Yeltsin and Gorbachev campaigned together for their plan for a new kind of government here, Yeltsin could not resist putting Gorbachev down. He berated Gorbachev for indecision and bad judgment that Yeltsin charged helped bring about last month's coup. But Yeltsin also praised Gorbachev, faintly, for becoming a new man.
I have more confidence in Mikhail Sergeyevich now than I did 3 weeks ago.
For his part, Gorbachev told the Congress the country is on the verge of becoming ungovernable, and he appealed for unity.
We're all one, side by side, and we should not spit on each other.
But unity is elusive. In the Ukraine, demonstrators insisted their republic be independent enough to avoid domination by Yeltsin's Russia. Yeltsin tried to calm such fears.
The Russian state will never be an empire or a big brother. It will be an equal among equals.
Except for nuclear weapons. Yeltsin said tonight because the Ukraine does not want to have nuclear weapons, missiles there are being moved to Russia. Many delegates today charged the proposed takeover of central government power by the republics would amount to another coup. That angered Gorbachev.
That is stupidity, and above all, political demagoguery.
In the Yeltsin-Gorbachev partnership, Yeltsin is clearly dominant and clearly enjoying it. A reporter asked him whether he would support Gorbachev if he ever runs for president.
Boris Nikolaevich.
Yeltsin just smiled. Gorbachev says a loose association of independent republics is the only possibility here now. He does not say how he feels about becoming Yeltsin's junior partner. Tom?
Thanks, Bob. When we return, a farewell to Frank Capra. His films described America to itself.
Did you know that the most valuable...
Frank Capra, the man, lived that dream. He was even nicer than his screen heroes. NBC's Keith Morrison tonight on the legacy of Capra, dead today at 94.
If America has kept its character through the 20th century, its independent spirit, then probably it should thank Frank Capra. Capra, the quintessential American, who wasn't even born here. He was a farmer's kid from Sicily, dirt poor. His parents couldn't read or write. And he worked his way through the California Institute of Technology and graduated as an engineer, and went into the Army, and came back and discovered the magic of film. Witchery, he called it. Where others were offered star turns, he clawed his way through editing and comedy writing and fought for what he wanted. I don't like people telling me what to do, he said one time.
I'll stop a car and I won't use my thumb.
But people liked what he did when he broke through to fame and an Oscar with the 1934 classic It Happened One Night, a film Clark Gable didn't even want to do.
I do want to take this opportunity for expressing my thanks and sincere gratitude to Mr. Frank Capra, the director of It Happened One Night.
Welcome to Shangri-La. His movies were about the triumph of individuals, about regular people and their goodness. They told passionately the American ideal, stories of hope in the Depression, told by a kid from Sicily who gave Jimmy Stewart the greatest roles of his life.
Somebody will listen to me.
The one thing I know is he has this tremendous love for people he worked with, people in the story, people in the audience.
Stewart said that in 1982, the year the industry honored Capra and asked him to tell why his films meant so much.
The art of Frank Capra is very, very simple. It's the love of people, the freedom of each individual, and the equal importance of each individual.
Come in, Uncle Billy!
And maybe that's why at Christmas so many of us watch this Capra classic. Today, Capra's son, Tom, who works at NBC News, sent a message around. He died of natural causes, said the note, just never woke up. He was 94, and, you know, he did have a wonderful life. Keith Morrison, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Wonderful life, wonderful man. That's Nightly News for this Tuesday.
Friday, America's hottest talk show host, Oprah, talks with Jane Pauley about her real-life problems.
Why am I eating this when I'm really not hungry?
Her love life.
Stedman cares for me.
The Oprah Winfrey you've never seen before.
I'm not really ambitious, but I'm driven. I told you that.
Oprah's Real Life with Jane Pauley. Now Fridays at 8. The season premiere this Friday.
Katie's coming back to Today.
Katie Couric's coming back.
Isn't that fantastic?
Welcome back.
To NBC's Today Show.
We'll see you soon.
Monday.
This is Sizzler.